Welcome to another episode of Code Breakers, the podcast that empowers you to overcome life's challenges and tap into your full potential. I'm Sam, your host. Today, we're diving into the importance of embracing our emotions and understanding our stories. We'll talk a little bit about how science helps us understand how our bodies respond to and store trauma, how emotions get stuck, and how to properly process and release them so that you can show up as your best self in your life, your career, and most importantly, for yourself. So let's get to it. Have you ever wondered why it's so important to feel your way through healing? Or if understanding your story and those of the people around you could be a catalyst for change? Healing is not just about moving forward, it's also about looking back. Sometimes, as much as we don't want to, we have to look back and revisit our life's experiences in a healthier, more mature manner than what our caretakers could provide at the time. This is not to say that they were bad people. Sure, in some cases, they might have been, and accepting that is probably going to come up at some point in your healing process. But avoiding it entirely, avoiding looking back to the past, especially if you know deep down inside that there's still part of you bothered by it, then I believe it's definitely a necessary step, at least to some degree, to healing forward and living the life that you know you want to live. You have to learn to trust yourself in your journey and your process. And you have to learn to balance that with the advice and insight and perspectives of those closest to you. No, you can't let everyone have a say in your healing journey, but I do believe in listening openly to our board of directors, those people that we trust intensely and willingly seek out advice from or request their presence in our lives because of who they are and how they show up for us, and vice versa. My journey is marked with two very distinct periods. I thought I had dealt with my shit up until it kind of punched me in the face in my mid to late 20s. And even after that, it took me way too long to learn that there is a difference, and there is a major difference between processing emotions and allowing our feelings to move through our body and intellectualizing emotions. I do think both are beneficial, but like with most things, balance is key. Feeling requires us to feel. It requires us to confront the past in a different way, to sit with the discomfort of our emotions. The introspective intellectualization of our feelings and emotions is an essential part of healing. It enables us to make sense of our experiences, to understand the why behind the choices that we made, and maybe even gain some understanding for the choices that others made. And ultimately, to use that information to find meaning in it all. But it cannot be the only way that you deal with them. Feeling your way through healing is about recognizing and accepting your emotions, even the uncomfortable ones. Maybe I should say especially the uncomfortable ones. Um Healing is learning to love the parts of yourself that you don't even like. And I'd say that a critical step to getting there is allowing our feelings and emotions to be what they are without having an immediate and incessant need to label them as bad or get upset with yourself for simply being human and having to discern the complexities that come along with that. We live in a world that often encourages us to suppress our feelings, but having the proper tools and the mental fortitude to properly feel, observe, and process emotions instead will lead to increased self awareness, better mental health, and improved relationships. All fantastic things, right? Understanding our story and the events that shaped us why people made the choices that they did. It can all be incredibly liberating. It empowers us to break free from the chains of resentment, bitterness, and it offers us a path towards forgiveness and, most importantly, inner peace. A lot of times when we're trying to heal from something, it's not just about what happened, but why it happened and why people made the choices that they made. And having this understanding can be a powerful tool for healing. When you try to take the time to understand the motivations and the circumstances of others, it helps you find empathy and forgiveness, even in some of the most challenging situations. Assume positive intent. This is something I had difficulty with for a long time, but it is a key step towards personal growth and cultivating a growth mindset. And it's one that will help you come to realize that honestly, in most cases, they didn't mean to hurt you or do the damage that they did. Now, I feel like this requires a really quick sidebar. When I say in most cases, I mean like relational trauma, work trauma, not things like abuse, and especially not things like repeated abuse. In cases like that, it is so much more important to prioritize your safety, your healing, and seeking professional help rather than trying to understand or assume positive intent. Okay. In those situations, the focus has to be on self preservation, getting the support that you need, and if possible, holding the people responsible accountable through the appropriate channels. Healing from any form of extreme trauma involves a different process that has to prioritize your safety, justice, and then recovery. Processing emotions and traumatic experiences means actively engaging with your feelings. People often use therapy or mindfulness and meditation to find resolution and release trapped emotion, which can manifest in various ways, but they ultimately end up impacting our physical and mental health in one way or another. In episode 3, we talked about how trauma affects the brain, body, and nervous system. And today we're revisiting this topic to emphasize the physical and emotional connection and how trauma and emotions become embedded within our bodies. In cases where people deal with severe or life threatening trauma, the body may activate the dorsal vagus nerve, which is associated with immobilization or shutting down. It's a survival mechanism where the body is going to go into this state of preservation and energy conservation. The polyvagal theory also introduces the ventral vagus nerve, which is linked to social engagement, connection, and safety. So when we feel safe and supported, this part of our parasympathetic nervous system allows us to relax and we're better able to connect with other people, regulate our emotions, and regulate our responses to stress. The reason that I bring this back up is because this theory teaches us that our bodies react to trauma by storing it within. It stores it within us through our nervous system, by storing it within us through the autonomic nervous system, which is responsible for unconsciously regulating various physiological processes like digestion and heart rate. But traumatic experiences, especially those that trigger the shutdown response or the dorsal response, those situations result in the storage of unprocessed emotional and physiological reactions within the body more often than the fight or flight response. The polyvagal theory suggests that the autonomic nervous system stores memories of these traumatic experiences and their associated physiological responses, meaning that these memories can remain dormant but then be activated when similar situations or triggers occur. So, like if you've ever smelt something familiar and all of a sudden have a rush of memories coming back, this stored trauma can lead to a heightened state of alertness, hypervigilance, and emotional reactivity in response to perceived threats, influencing our thoughts, emotions, and physical responses long after the traumatic event has passed. By engaging in therapeutic approaches and practices that focus on regulation and safety, you can gradually release stored trauma and enable your autonomic nervous system to return to a state of social engagement and relaxation. So think of it like this. Think of the autonomic nervous system like a traffic light. When we're in a safe and calm state, it's like having a green light. It allows us to go about our day with ease. But when we encounter stress or danger, it's like the yellow light, warning us to slow down and be cautious. And then in moments of extreme threat or trauma, it's like having a red light, triggering the fight or flight or freeze response. And understanding the polyvagal theory really helps us learn how we can manage our day to day life, manage our inputs as best we can, and manage these responses effectively so that we can return to a regulated state as quickly and as healthily as possible. Our bodies react to trauma by storing the associated physiological responses within us, creating a physical and emotional imprint. And this stored trauma can impact our thoughts, emotions, and physical reactions. But through understanding and therapeutic interventions, we can work towards healing and regulation. So, what can you do to ensure that when you're coming up to your feelings or trying to deal with past experiences and heal from trauma, that you are feeling your feelings rather than suppressing them or ignoring them? Here are some easy to implement and actionable steps that I hope will help. First off, consider seeking therapy or counseling. A trained therapist can guide you through the process of understanding your story and processing your emotions in the best possible way for you. I'm going to harp on this a lot because one, I'm not a trained therapist. Two, I want people to get the right support for them. And three, I think that life coaching is most effective when we have resolved the things we need to from our past. Now, only you know what this point is, though. But that fork in the road where you're done looking back and ready to intentionally build and strengthen the new, that's 1,000% what I'm here for. Another idea you can try, keeping a journal. The process of writing down your thoughts, emotions, and memories will lead to breakthroughs and rapid learning when it comes to who you are, how your mind works, and what your current default assumptions are. This can help you process your experiences and gain tremendous clarity for your next steps as well. Explore practices like yoga, Tai Chi, or somatic therapy. Those are just a couple recommendations when it comes to mind body practices. But honestly, seek out any technique or practice that helps you connect with your body and release stored emotions. This can literally be as simple sometimes as just shaking it out when you feel an emotional heaviness in your body or just have a lot of anxiety and nerves. And and last but certainly not least, have some self-compassion for your journey and be freaking nice to yourself. Healing is a journey, it is a process, and it's okay to have setbacks. This is a really critical part of the healing process, being able to give yourself compassion. You've been through hard shit, and some days are going to be better than others. But you know what? You're going to wake up each day and you're going to give it your best, and you're going to be happy with that, and you're going to be proud of that. Because what we're after here is not perfection. We're looking for progress. It is one step at a time, one day at a time, and eventually you will get to where you want to go. Now, I also wanted to drop a few strategies or helpful tips for releasing trapped emotions and empowering you to address the root causes of your stress or your physical ailments or some mental health challenges that you may be dealing with. In terms of emotional awareness and expression, identify and acknowledge, okay? So, recognizing and acknowledging the emotions that you're experiencing goes a surprisingly long way in taking away their power. Create a safe space for expression as well. Like, find a safe and supportive environment where you can express your emotions either through journaling or talking to a trusted friend or therapist. But find a safe space for you so that you have a space that you are allowed to be yourself and feel how you need to feel without any external expectations about how you should be responding. Practice mindfulness techniques to help you stay present with your emotions without judgment. As I said, awareness can be the first step in releasing trapped emotions, and a few body centered approaches. Physical activity, yoga, tai chi, or any type of regular exercise can help release pent up energy and emotions, or using a body scanning and relaxation technique to connect with physical sensations in our body. And then, of course, breath work. Focused and intentional breath work can help release emotions, tension, and promote true relaxation. So find a breath work practice that works for you. My go to is usually box breathing. So in for four, hold, out for four, hold, and repeat as often as needed. It really works for me. Next, have patience and self compassion. Be kind to yourself. Remind yourself that it's okay to feel what you're feeling. Set realistic expectations. Understand that emotional release is not always immediate. It may take time, and you might need to revisit certain emotions multiple times. So just keep in mind that healing is not linear. So stay committed. Consistency in your chosen approach is key, whether it's therapy, self help, or a combination of strategies. Just stay committed to your journey and your process, whatever that looks like. And as always, a couple of therapeutic techniques you might look into: EMDR, somatic experiencing, acupuncture, Reiki, and EFT can all help move and release stored and trapped emotional energy in the body. I was thinking, I have to say, I have been personally involved in the coaching and self help world for a long time. But it recently dawned on me how simple the steps are to living your best life. Just like health and fitness, diet, exercise, and consistency usually lead to your desired result, especially if that desire is improved health and fitness. The healing process and the decision to transform your life is no different. The pillars and foundational actions required also seem to be pretty consistent. Just as a balanced diet and regular exercise are essential for physical well being, emotional and mental well being also require certain foundational actions like self awareness, self compassion, setting clear goals, developing resilience, and seeking support when needed. Much like how consistency in a healthy diet and exercise produce long term health benefits, consistency in self improvement practices, whether through mindfulness, therapy, or personal development techniques, can lead to lasting positive changes in your life. As we conclude this episode, remember that healing from trauma is an intricate and deeply personal voyage. Healing and growth take time, and progress may not always be linear. Embrace the journey as an opportunity to learn, evolve, and discover newfound strengths and resilience within yourself. You are not alone on this journey, and there is hope for transformation and healing. Thank you for joining us. Don't forget to subscribe and share and stay tuned for our upcoming episodes. Until next time, remember, you have the power to break your own code and rewrite your story. See you next time.